This is William Bartol. He calls himself Billy Barty. It's William Bartol. He says he's from, the New Orleans area, somewhere down there, Louisiana or somewhere. But he knows this person as Michael Eckert. But he also knows him as Blunt Stick. He knows him as Blunt Stick. But his name is Michael Eckert. Well, his name is really Chris Blunt, but he went by Michael Eckert. And he's related to somebody from Carter County, Oklahoma, I think, in the police force. There's also a person in Austin, Texas that looks similar to him, but he's much older than Chris Blunt. And all the engineers said, we're just going to call him Michael Eckert. We got it all planned out. No, Michael Eckert Michael Eckert that was pretending to be, our director, our engineering director, is Chris Blunt. He was in my jail cell in Murray County Jail. Chris Blunt links every person from Motorola all the way from 2006 to 2012 into Intel Corporation all the way up to 2019, because those people were there until I was fired. Delfino Sandoval was still there. He was still there. Some of these people were still working there. Now, as I said, Chris Blunt was in the Murray County Jail from September 2022 timeframe to somewhere around October 2022 timeframe. You should be able to find a record of Chris Blunt being in there. I don't know if you'll find his picture, but Chris Blunt was in there calling himself Chris Blunt, but he called himself Michael Eckert. I didn't recognize him because his hair didn't look the same. He cut his hair down, and he didn't have the facial hair too either. There's a problem with this because Chris Blunt showed up at the Amarillo Greyhound station on July 2nd, 2024, when I was there heading to Denver to report your crimes to the Denver police. One of them knows what's going on. Another person who was in there was Dan Morelli. He also told me he was affiliated with Clark County Police somehow. He told me that years ago. He knows they did something wrong. Proof that I was, at the Amarillo bus station is right here. It also has the time and the date, so you can see, what time I got there, what time I left, and they were there inside the bus station, and they should be on camera. Now, this Chris Blunt knows April Finnerty and Shane Hawley. As soon as I started dating April, all of a sudden, Chris Blunt started showing up at her house, and he said something kind of strange. He said, I hear you coming down the road. That's how I keep showing up when you get here. Well, I think it's because he couldn't hear my radio, but he could. And I heard other people say something like this. It's like, yeah, they listen to, like a radio or something, and all of a sudden it starts to come in clear, then they know it's you coming down the road. He said something like that. That doesn't sound right. That sounds highly illegal to tap somebody's car. This is Jim Conway, and there's a person working inside the state capital of Louisiana that tells you where the guided tour is and where the tour is and where you can go and where you can't go. And he looks like she looks like she might be related to Jim Conway's mother, and she probably is. Because I remember something about him saying, "We got a surprise for you, bro. I got somebody related to me working on the inside of Louisiana State Capitol." I believe it was her because she kind of looks like his mother in a way. It's probably his aunt. Jim Conway had a brother and a father who are in law enforcement in the Carter County area. At least in high school, his brother, he called himself Jim Steeler, James Steeler, and then he was Jim Conway. James, I don't know what the brother's name is. He was a police officer in Ardmore. April knows him. April knows who both of them are. She doesn't like either one of them. She knows what Jim Conway did to her. She knows 100%. Jim Conway will never admit to what he had done. Now, this is a pretty crazy story. I went to Philadelphia this last year. I landed around 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I took the train to downtown Philadelphia from the SEPTA train from the airport. I walked around downtown a little bit, and I started looking for a place to get money for a train. and a lot of places were closed. So I went to a Chili's, and I was going to get change. I'll buy something, anything, just to get change, so I wouldn't lose money for the buses, because they don't give you change. You put in a 20, it keeps the whole 20. But I go into this Chili's in downtown Philadelphia, and the person that was sitting there, he goes, oh. It was Ronnie Hartley. He's the one who gave the change to the lady, and she gave it to me. But the crazy thing, what you'd have to ask is, why would Ronnie Hartley from Lone Grove, Oklahoma, Ardmore, Oklahoma area, be all the way up in Philadelphia right as I get there? It's probably because he knows all of these people right here. It's probably right there. Why? Because, Ronnie's the one who introduced me to Beth, and he knows Chris and Corey and Tina and all these other people. And this is the time that I landed, so that's proof that I was there. It gives you the date of when Ronnie Hartley would have been in that Chili's. It would have been that date, when I landed. It was that exact night. But this is a crazy thing. This is a crazy picture. I don't have the actual picture that Chris Christian had around the year 2001 to 2002, it was after September 11, 2001. It was after the World Trade Tower attacks. I went to Oklahoma City to visit Chris Christian, and Chris, he didn't have a good guitar at all, and I had a red one I was going to show off. I was like, I like this guitar, so I took his red. It was an expensive guitar too. I took it up there. I started showing it to him. I was like, well, why don't you get you a good guitar? He goes, man, I cook steaks for a living. I can't afford nothing. So I was like, well, I wanted him to keep his guitar. So I said, if you find something, no, you keep your good. If you find something, what do you got? I'll just trade me for this. He gave me a broken motherboard. I knew it would never work. I said, I'll take it. I can fix it. I couldn't fix it. No possible way. I kind of lied, but I know I lied. I knew I couldn't fix it. I knew I couldn't. He said, the BGA bottom was broken and stuff. It's impossible to fix. But I kind of just kept the motherboard, left it laying around. But the thing is, after that, Chris Christian showed me a picture worth a billion words. Christopher Ian Christian got a Polaroid picture, and he showed it to me. And what that picture was Corey Butler and Diane Butler, his mother, standing in front of the World Trade Towers, which were still standing. Nothing had happened, no attack whatsoever, and they were holding a sign in front of these World Trade Towers that said, September 12th, 2001, we finally got you, Brett. Now, this next picture I'm going to show you is going to be very upsetting to some people, so just hold on. These pictures are proof that Dream Theater, the band, knows 9/11's faked. The album was called Live Scenes from New York. It's a real album they released on the day of the attacks. It was already in the stores before the attacks happened with that cover. And after they found out the attacks were faked and stuff, after they found out the September 11th stuff was, they really was going to do all this fake stuff, they pulled it off the shelves. They pulled it off the shelves, and then they released that note. Mike Portnoy released that note. And the album was about hypnotism. And then they released Metropolis 2, which was not a live album, but it was an album, the same album, about hypnotism. Metropolis 2. Another thing that Chris Christian had done when I was there is he introduced me to a person named Margot Silva. Except I don't know what her real name is. I just know she went by Margot Silva in Austin, Texas. But he introduced me to her. And how I know it's her, because I went up to the Quail Springs Mall, and I was walking by a bookstore, and I looked up, and I saw these shoes, and they were ASICS shoes. And I said, I wonder what kind of shoes those are. And then she comes walking out of the back, and it was Margot Silva walking out of the back of that bookstore. She's looking upset as she's walking by me. And that's when I remembered that she criticized me, because she goes, I already know he doesn't know anything about electronics. There's no such thing called ASICs in electronics. I said, what? She goes, you know what ASIC is? I'll beat you to it. It's shoes, because I sell them. They're shoes. That's what she said. Well, I got some bad news. They're also chips. And the really bad news is Chris Christian introduced me to her that time that I went up there, and he showed me those pictures sometime around 2001 to 2002, after the September 11, 2001 attacks had been faked in New York. And then Margot Silva, because she thought, I was a liar because I thought ASICs were computer chips, which they are, she condemned me. And she ended up working at the Palmer Lane Tavern. And that's where it links all the people from Austin, Texas together with Margot Silva and Oklahoma City and the cops at Quail Springs Mall, who tried to arrest me for just standing there whistling, wearing a shirt saying the cops are hiding the truth, the evidence about faking my daughter's death. Now, if you look at this picture, you'll see there's Margot Silva, who's from Oklahoma City area, Edmond area. She's at the Quail Springs Mall. She knows Chris Christian from Lone Grove, Oklahoma. You'll see Dave Banks. You'll see Leon Grizzard, who was there at Palmer Lane Tavern, pretending to be somebody else. You'll see there's a person named Molly. You'll see the Pat Hand lady, Casey. You see Danny Hayden. A lot of these people told me they were police officers. Like Danny Hayden told me he was from Tishomingo. What are these people following Brett Finnerty all over the world for? What are you guys trying to cover up? What are you hiding? Why are you stalking me? Won't you tell the truth?